This episode is brought to you by the Conscious Combo Network and the Black Boy Fly Club. Go to www.blackboyfly.club to learn about the movement, get books, merch, and just get connected with the brand overall. Again, www.blackboyfly.club. I hope you enjoy the next episode. Hey folks, it's Dr. Isaac Addae, author of Black Boy Fly. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Black Boy Fly podcast. Like I have been saying over and over and over, I'm having so much fun with this. I'm loving all the comments, all the feedback. Keep sending me your thoughts. Keep telling me what you think about these episodes. We're really just getting started and we've got so much more to come. All right. Now, again, you can tune in on YouTube, but this podcast is also available on all of your favorite podcast channels. And I just found out it's also available on Audible. So if you read ebooks, tune in to Audible and check out the podcast. Today, we're going to talk about writing a book and telling your story and how there's so much power in doing so. So let me get into it. Today, I spoke with the person who called and wanted to ask me questions about the process for me writing Black Boy Fly and the technical details behind getting the book out into the world. Scheduled about 30 minutes for the call. 10 minutes into the call, we're done. And she's like, "Oh, is that it?" Yeah, that was it. It really wasn't as hard as I thought to become an author, to publish a book. Now, there was work involved. There are some tedious details that you have to tune into and actually take your time with. But getting a book out, probably one of the best things that you could ever do. So let me just talk about the top 3 reasons why you should write a book and tell your story. First off, your book is going to be a blessing to you. All right. When I wrote my book, which I wrote over the course of multiple years, and if you check out my first video on YouTube, I break that down. But my book started as a journal. I was writing in my journal. I have an electronic journal. I also have a paper journal. But in my electronic journal, I use the Day One app. I'll link that in the description. In the Day One app, you can use hashtags. So around 2016, I think I was moving about the city of Nashville, doing something, probably going out, grab some food and something to drink. And it just hit me like a ton of bricks. Black Boy Fly. That's going to be the name of your first book. Now, I didn't know what to do with it at the time because in 2016, I was in no position mentally to put a book out. But what I started doing was continuing to write in my journal. But when I wrote something that was really personal and it felt like I was sharing something that was a struggle and I found a way through it, I would put at the end hashtag Black Boy Fly as a way to just say you can do anything you put your mind to. And when I journal, I tend to write about struggles, but I write about them as a way to kind of talk about how I can get past it and how not to let these things become me. So when I sat down in 2020 and 2021 and started putting the book together, I really basically pulled from those journal entries that were tagged with the hashtag Black Boy Fly. Some of them were short, some of them were long, and I literally started there and began writing. So I would take a short journal entry, write 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages on it, take another journal entry, put a bunch of additional comments on it. And I had all of these different thoughts. And then I sat down and organized it into 3 parts: purpose, influence, and change. So when you read my book, you'll see that there's 26 sections. All of those are different thoughts that I had that were in my journal, that were very personal, and that I never really intended to share with the world. But I put it out in a book and folks love it. Hey, I'm happy. But here's the blessing. When I wrote my book, it was a cathartic process for me. Going to sit and write and putting those journal entries together, extending those thoughts, it forced me to revisit some places that I had been, but I had left emotionally and mentally. It caused me to kind of go back and relive some things that I experienced, but it helped me process my feelings and emotions around that. It also helped me shape my own narrative. By writing the book and putting it together in the way that I put it together, I shaped my struggles in a way where I basically arose as the hero. I emerged from the ashes, as they say, having become this renewed person who went through struggle and has triumphed in victory. That book was a blessing for me. So even if I never put the book out, just going through the process of writing that book putting those thoughts together, reading what I wrote in my journal that was very private, deciding to release those thoughts into the world and allowing myself to become vulnerable, it really saved me. It really allowed me to express some things that I hadn't really expressed publicly ever. And then it just kind of gave me a strength. So I'll tell you, when you write your first book, because you're going to write your first book because you're listening to me and I did it and you can do it too. That book is going to be a blessing for you because you're going to go into your life and your background, share your story, put it out there in the world and allow people to feel what you went through. And you are basically shaping the narrative around you. So first thing, your book is going to be a blessing. That's why you have to write it. But here's the second thing, which is more important than a book being a blessing to you. Your book is going to be a blessing to other people. Yes, your book will change people's lives. Think about it. We all have experienced things. We've all struggled with things. We've all had our wins, our losses, and everything in between. Everybody's life is unique in terms of your journey, what you've experienced, and your perspective on what you experienced is also very unique to you. So when you take those things and you package them and you put them in a book and you give it to people to digest, you are saving lives with your story. That's why writing a book is so important. It's more than just being a blessing to you. Your story, your testimony, your pain, your tragedy and triumph is going to bless another person. And if you write a good book, it's going to bless a lot of people. All right. As you can see over here on the shelf, I got a bunch of books stacked up, more orders coming in. I didn't think my book was going to sell as much as it has sold, but it's taken off. One, because of the theme and the brand, but two, because I'm literally telling my story and it's never been done before. And apparently people love to hear about folks like me and they want to hear about folks like you too. So you're going to write that book because one, it's going to bless you, but two, your story is going to be a blessing for someone else. Your story is going to save somebody's life. Your story is going to change somebody's life. You're going to help somebody see what's possible. You're going to show people that I can experience X, Y, and Z and become this person. You can do it too. All right. So one, the book is going to be a blessing to you. Two, the book is going to be a blessing to other people. Here's the third thing, and this is really important. You are your brand. All right. We hear all this talk about branding, creating a brand, marketing, promotion, awareness. You are your brand. And is there anyone else like you on this earth? No, which means you have a very unique brand. By creating a book product and putting it out into the world, you're creating a narrative with messaging. You're essentially defining your brand and you're communicating that brand with the world. And so much can come with that. All right. I created this Black Boy Fly brand around my story, but Black Boy Fly is something that I heard in a Kendrick Lamar song years ago. J. Cole actually just said it in the song last week too. So I trademarked that phrase and I'm really glad that I did. But I created this Black Boy Fly brand. I had the logo designed. Shout out to Ivan Ratliff at Brand Lab. He took my vision, created a great logo, and people love it. But that represents me. When I think of Black Boy Fly, that is about Isaac overcoming what he went through and then getting to the next level. But I also have communicated this in a way where other people can see that message and it may resonate with them and it may encourage them to fly in some way. So I have used my book to define my narrative, which I have communicated through a brand that I call Black Boy Fly. So now it's bigger than a book, right? If you go to blackboyfly.club, you'll see that I have other products available, merchandise, apparel. I've been speaking. I've been getting other gigs lined up to go on tour and talk about this exact concept. So much so that last week somebody said, hey, let me know when the Black Boy Fly conference gets kicked off. I want to make sure my son is involved. I thought to myself, I never said anything about a Black Boy Fly conference, but because I put that brand out in the atmosphere, it's grown wings and it's taken off and folks are loving it. So the point that I'm making here is that when you develop your story, you're going to bless yourself, you're going to bless other people, but you're also going to create a narrative around you that you can capture into a brand and take off with that and literally fly like Black Boy Fly. All right. So let me use my wife, for example. If you don't know, she's Dr. Lakeisha Simmons. Her first book was called The Unlikely Achiever. She has taken this whole achiever concept and flown off to the races with it. She trademarked the word achieve her, HER at the end. Her new consulting brand is called The Wealthy Achiever, and she does speaking around that, all because of a book. All right. And I can name so many more examples. I've got several books on this shelf. Marcus Whitney, a good friend of mine. Marcus Whitney took his book, Create and Orchestrate, built his brand around that. He's going to do some speaking. He's going to do some coaching and other things, but he put his story out in the world. And he created that narrative. All right. So many books are able to do this because we are writing based on our experiences, based on the things that we think, hear, see, perceive. You put it in words, you put it in a book, you put it out there into the world, and you let people grab a hold of it and watch what happens. All right. So you are going to get that book out this year. All right. If not this year, next year, you're going to get this book done. I did it. So can you. It's not that hard, to be honest with you. You may think that writing a book is really hard. It's not. You may think that publishing a book is really hard. It's not. And I self-published mine, so I can give you some insights on that. But it's going to bless you. It's going to bless some other people. And it's going to allow you to create a narrative and a brand that you can communicate into the world and do so many things with. So what are you waiting for? Get that book out into the world. Let your story fly. Tell people what's possible through your words. Put it in a book, share it with the world, watch how things change for you and the people around you. All right. Thanks for tuning into this episode of the podcast. Encourage people in your network to subscribe and follow us on all podcast platforms and stay tuned for the next episode.